A middle school pride event took just a terrible turn in Burlington.
Parents and teachers outraged over the response to a middle school pride event.
Parents angry at town hall over intolerance at Marshall Simons Middle School.
Instead of showing support, some students allegedly destroyed decorations there.
The incident behind this happened 2 Fridays ago here at Simmons Middle School. We're told a group of students started chanting, "My pronouns are USA," and tore down some rainbow banners while another group of students was setting up a pride display.
Kids were asked to wear rainbow clothes in honor of Pride Spirit Day, but some organized a counter-protest wearing red, white, and blue or black.
Students were invited to show their pride and wear rainbow clothing in celebration of Pride Month. Students wore red, white, and blue clothing, chanted, "My pronouns are USA," and destroyed rainbow decorations at the school.
Pride posters were ripped down, stickers ripped up. Some students chanted, "USA are my pronouns," and students showing pride were intimidated.
These displays of intolerance and homophobia are unacceptable.
This type of intolerant rhetoric starts in the home.
It was an unruly disruption, in fact, that was organized ahead of time.
It would be naive of us to think that what happened at the middle school won't escalate into something more tragic in the future.
The acceptance and visibility of LGBTQIA people is not being shoved down your throats, it's being normalized, finally, and thank goodness.
Middle school should be a safe place for all students to express themselves, to make mistakes, and to learn from each other.
It's sad that these kids are learning this, and this is the world we're living in. It breaks my heart.
What really got me upset was when kids started feeling uncomfortable for wearing a rainbow shirt, or teachers started feeling uncomfortable for trying to support the effort.
You know, I can only speak for my daughter. She didn't want to wear that to school. It's not that she wanted to hurt anybody's feelings.
She says her daughter felt coerced to participate in the Pride event and was offended by some of the messages, like this quote from Tennessee Williams.
Human heart cannot be straight. It is curves and winds. And my daughter just kind of said, you know, Mom, that's offensive to me, who I am straight. My thing that I teach my kids is just be kind, and I wish the schools would just kind of pump the brakes on what they're shoving down these kids' throats.
My pronouns
are USA.
My pronouns are USA. How about it, huh?
My pronouns are USA.
My pronouns are USA. How about it, huh?
My pronouns are USA.
My pronouns are USA.
USA. I mean, those adults, those so-called adults have no idea how to react to this massive revolt from the kids. I mean, and this is so beyond ironic. I mean, seriously. The whole LGBT movement, the whole notion of Pride Month is itself a revolt. It's a rebellion. I mean, you heard it yourself. It's a rebellion against intolerance. It's a rebellion against exclusion. It's a rebellion against insensitivity. So if your whole worldview is itself built on a rebellion against tradition, a rebellion against classical religion, a rebellion against custom and heritage that are now all deemed to be irredeemably phobic. If your whole worldview is built on rebellion, why the hell do you think the next generation isn't going to rebel? If your whole worldview is built on the virtue of rebellion, why do you think that the next generation is just simply going to sit back and comply? These so-called adults, these so-called school leaders are the epitome of absurdity. They deliberately denied others the very cultural dissent they demand for themselves. It's unbelievable. I'm already fired up, gang, and we're just getting warmed up here. Greetings, everyone. Where are my manners? It's Live Stream Friday. I am your host, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We are live on both Rumble and YouTube, so super chats and super stickers are up. So some of your questions, I will answer them in due course. This show is going to absolutely make your day. It's going to make your week. It's going to make your month. Because this, of course, is, after all, Pride Month. And I love Pride Month. Yep, you heard that right. I love Pride Month. I wish it were Pride Year. I wish every month were Pride Month. And that's because this month inevitably transforms into Courageous Patriot Month. The defiance of courageous patriots awakens and gets put on display literally everywhere this month. It's the month more than any other where patriots all across the nation, actually will find all across the Western world, rise up in defiance of tyranny. The tyranny of the so-called tolerant. And today we've got an amazing example of just such defiance. It's going to inspire you like nothing else. Maybe show it to your Republican politicians. Maybe it'll light a fire under their feckless asses. But first, gang, before you do anything else, make sure to click on that link below and visit our good friends over at Home Title Lock. I got to admit, I was absolutely shocked when I was recently shown just how easy it is to access the deed to my house, and not just access it, but actually change it. The deed to your home is the only document that proves you own it. But the problem is that the deeds to all our homes are now online, and criminals are free to find your deed, forge your signature, refile as the new owner of your home, take tons of loans out using your home's equity, and then stick you with all the debt. And that's where our good friends over at Home Title Lock come in. Gang, they're absolutely amazing. Home Title Lock gives you the peace of mind that the deed to your home is absolutely and completely protected. Click on that link below right now and use promo code TurleyTalks. Then all you got to do is just enter your address in for your no obligation home title scan to see if you've already been a victim of deed theft. It's a $100 value, absolutely, totally free with my promo code Turley Talks. Gang, don't wait for the worst to happen only to regret you didn't do something about when you could have. Do what I've done and countless patriots have done. Click on that link below right now and secure your home today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. It's happening. It really is the next generation, Gen Z, as we call them, those who've been born by 2012, if I recall, they are indeed rebelling. They are rebelling, and they're rebelling not against those who simply want to bring peace on earth. They're rebelling not against those who stand for love, not hate. No, these Gen Zers are openly rebelling against what they perceive to be a malicious, despotic, intolerant authoritarianism imposed on them by the most narcissistic, neurotic, and especially radically intolerant people on the planet. That's the rebellion that we're seeing unfolding right before our very eyes. Now, if you don't know what's happening here, students at Marshall Simmons Middle School in Massachusetts, one of the bluest of blue regions in the bluest of blue states in the nation, in Burlington, Massachusetts, these students, these children of Democrats, have risen up in defiance of their radically woke administration and staff, and they've refused to comply with their woke leftist indoctrination. The school had encouraged students to wear rainbow clothing to celebrate Pride. Encouraged, by the way, which of course is another word for do it or we'll ostracize you, right? So they encouraged, wink, wink, students to wear rainbow clothing. But many students took it upon themselves to organize a counter protest. Instead of donning rainbow colors, these students opted to wear red, white, and blue attire and chanted throughout the school's halls, "My pronouns are USA." I mean, God bless these students. And they absolutely triggered these woke so-called educators, better indoctrinators, right? I mean, seriously, God bless them. They have more courage in their pinkies than 98% of our Republican politicians. God bless these guys. Now, of course, woke faculty members were shocked by this sacrilege and openly characterized the students' refusal to comply with the Pride festivities as, of course, hateful intolerance. These fundamentalist woke Puritans demanded the scarlet eye be placed around the necks of these heretical students. And of course, parents didn't take too kindly to that. They weren't very happy with a bunch of virtue signaling supposed educators who their tax dollars pay for, by the way. They don't much appreciate these leftist activists disguised as teachers denigrating their kids that way. And so the whole incident has erupted into a culture war, again, within the bluest of blue regions in the nation. Now, Principal Carrie Purchase acknowledged that the counter message from these students may have been triggered by the school's failure to recognize Memorial Day. These people, these freaking people, beam me up. This school in Burlington deliberately refused to commemorate Memorial Day. I mean, you know, Pat Buchanan warned us about this back in 1996, well, 92 and 96, but particularly in 96, he had a wonderful line during his presidential campaign. For these people, Easter is out, Earth Day is in, where we worship dirt. Right? We've gone from celebrating the resurrection to worshiping dirt. Okay, so Easter is out, Earth Day is in, Columbus Day is out, Indigenous Peoples Day is in. Pat, more than anyone else, understood the true nature of the culture wars emerging in the early 90s. He recognized it was all about recalibrating the whole of civilizational life around secular Marxist sentiments. And that's why he called it at its heart a religious war that's being fought out there for the very heart and soul of our nation. So this principal admitted that the student-led revolt may have been because the school decided to skip Memorial Day. And so school officials issued apologies to the students, acknowledging the unintended mistake of not acknowledging Memorial Day observances. But this principal was very quick to lecture. Remember, the virtue signalers, very quick to lecture us, emphasizing that respect for Memorial Day and respect for the LGBTQ community are not mutually exclusive. Who the hell are you to lecture us on that? Who the hell are you, the one who deliberately refused to honor those who gave their lives for our phobic, unjust, racist, sexist nation? You're the one who did that, not these students. Now, there's just, I'm on fire today. I am fired up. There's just so much here. There's so much we can unpack and develop in terms of what's really going on here with these students' open revolt. First and foremost, you'll notice that this anti-pride revolt is once again happening inside the world of the Democrat left. Right? This is not a revolt that's happening inside schools in Tennessee or Texas or Florida or Mississippi, you know, where all the knuckle draggers live. This is so huge for us to get. The left is unraveling. Gang, I can't emphasize this enough to you, especially for you doomers and gloomers out there. Dang, get this. I know it's frustrating. I know, but gang, they've accumulated total power over every one of our cultural institutions. And it took them like 60, 70 years to do it. That power accumulated over decades. And it's not going to be rolled back overnight. But keep in mind, I mean, despite the disasters of Jimmy Carter and Hubert Humphrey and George McGovern, despite their own ridiculous setbacks like the 1994 Republican Revolution or the Reagan Revolution, whatever, despite their own personal setbacks, the cultural Marxist left remained undaunted and unfazed in their quest to seize control over every single cultural institution in our nation. And they did it. And they're not going to let go overnight. But they are unraveling. They are falling apart precisely because leftism is built on victimhood and therefore entails its own futility. Because so if you belong to a victim group, you belong to the cultural Marxist left, right? That's what they've convinced every victim group of. And so they've succeeded in amassing a coalition of groups whose only relation to each other is their shared identity of victimhood. But here's the problem. What happens when some of these groups achieve political and cultural power? What happens? What happens is they stop seeing themselves as victims and they lose their common identity. And once they lose their common identity, these groups inevitably start turning on each other and the whole thing unravels. Case in point, in a video I did yesterday, we talked about what happened this week in Hamtramck, Michigan, a city located just outside of Detroit. Now, Hamtramck is unique in that it's the first Muslim majority city in the nation. And their status as the first Muslim majority city in the nation was solidified a few years back when voters there elected the first Muslim majority city council, who this week shocked woke leftists across the nation by being the first city to unanimously vote to officially ban the LGBT pride flag from being flown on any and all city property. It was a stunningly brazen move that has the woke left up in arms like never before. They simply cannot believe that any city council would have the gall to outright ban the flying of the pride flag. But what made it even worse is that this was a city council that was overwhelmingly Democrat. Hamtramck is part of Wayne County, Michigan, right? Which on average votes 70%. You heard that right. 7 out of 10 Democrat. Individual political contributions in Hamtramck are 10-1 Democrat. Democrats get over $100,000 in individual contributions, political contributions. Republicans are lucky if they break 10,000. Hamtramck is as Democrat of a city as you can get, and they just banned flying the LGBT rainbow flag. Now, if a Muslim majority could rise up in one of the bluest of blue regions in the entire nation and do that, what the hell is wrong with our feckless Republican politicians? Where are they showing a comparable level of political boldness in standing up for conservative values like Muslim Democrats are doing? I mean, the good news, as you can see here as of today, gang, screw the Republicans. We got middle schoolers and we got Muslim Democrats. Who needs Republicans? These feckless donor class controlled rhinos. Who needs them? So that's the first takeaway from all this. The culture wars have gone way beyond red states versus blue states here. The culture wars have now entered inside the bluest of blue states, which signals that the left is unraveling. The left is now eating itself. The moment their various victim groups no longer see themselves as victims, they lose their common identity and they begin turning on each other. So hopefully that's going to embolden red states to rise up and act more in accordance with conservative values and openly champion those values, which, by the way, unite us all together as Americans, not victims. That's what makes conservatives different from liberals. Americans are united by a common national identity, not a common identity of victimhood. Rush Limbaugh always, every day taught us that. We are united as Americans. That's why I love Trump. We're united as a nation, as patriots, not as oppressed victims. It's our nation that unites us and sustains us as a flourishing civilization. All right. But another takeaway in all this is that it signals a stunning shift in attitude towards LGBT identity politics. This is a gigantic development. And we have tons of data coming in corroborating the same thing here. Polls are now overwhelmingly showing a dramatic decline in support for LGBT issues, not just here in the United States, gang, but all throughout the Western world. This is a huge, huge shift in public sentiment. According to a study conducted by research firm Ipsos in over 30 mostly Western countries, support for the LGBT community, particularly trans activism, has declined across the board. Now, while most people in the surveyed countries still support same-sex marriage, that support has noticeably not increased over the last couple of years. It's either remained stable or it's actually been decreasing over the past 2 years. Similar patterns were observed regarding support for gay couples raising children. There are a number of countries, Poland, Turkey, Romania, and even South Korea. Remember, it's mainly Western nations, but they even polled South Koreans, exemplified a significant majority who are steadfastly opposed to the practice. And in countries such as the United States, the Netherlands, and Sweden, support for gay couples raising children has actually been declining over the past 2 years. When it comes to transgenderism, it's devastating in terms of the transgender political agenda. The vast majority of respondents, particularly in Great Britain and the United States, wanted trans people to be limited to using toilets, changing rooms, saunas, corresponding to their biological gender, their gender assigned at birth. And it's almost unanimous. We're talking 70, 80% are completely opposed to transgender athletes competing in female sports. Now, according to the data published in another report, this is the Public Religion Research Institute, which, by the way, is radically liberal, just so you know. They found that the percentage of the population that believes there are only two genders has actually increased. It's gone up over those same 2 years. And it's increased across the board. In other words, it's not just white evangelicals, Republicans that are inclined to say there are only two genders. It's Gen Zers, it's millennials, it's blacks, it's Latinos. We're talking across the board. Here's some stats. So back in 2021, 86% of white evangelicals believe there are only two genders. Today, that number's gone up to 92%, 9 in 10. Now, that may not be much of a surprise, right? White evangelicals, well, of course, they're the epitome of evil, blah, blah, blah. But what the study found was that the same kind of increase is evident even among the religiously unaffiliated. According to the study, those who claim to be religiously unaffiliated have gone from 38% affirming only two genders back in 2021, now to 46% today, a 10-point increase. But to close the loop here, which is so fascinating, the most dramatic shift in sentiment here is evidenced among, you guessed it, Gen Zers, the youngest among us. Gen Zers are openly revolting against all of this pride indoctrination. We're going to see the studies to prove it, gang. It's going to make your day. It's going to make your week. It's going to make your month. It's Pride Month. Courageous Pride, Patriot Pride Month, that is. But first, gang, many of you have been kind enough to notice that I've lost a couple of pounds of late. Oh, my heavens. Who is that blimp over there? It's true, gang. I've lost over 60 pounds. I've tried everything under the sun to lose weight, and nothing worked until I discovered the fantastic nutrition coaching over at PhD Weight Loss. PhD Weight Loss is 100% over-the-phone nutrition and behavior coaching program, and I simply couldn't possibly recommend it enough. I mean, I'm not gonna like preach it to you. I'm gonna show it to you, right? I was able to eat delicious meals all while reaching my weight loss goals in record time. It was one of the easiest things I ever did. Honestly, they completely take out all the guesswork behind what, when, and how much to eat. They make the process painless, simple, and as easy as possible. Dr. Ashley Lucas has helped thousands achieve their health goals over the last 15 years. And guess what, gang? You're next. Do it. Do it, gang. Follow my footsteps. I jumped in the water, and the water is great. You're going to love it. Change your life today by clicking on that link below, or just give them a call at 864-644-1900. Tell them Dr. Steve sent you, and join me and thousands of other patriots who are taking back control of our health. Click on that link below, or go to myphdweightloss.com. All right, gang, you ready for this? This is so awesome. The percentage of Gen Zers who believe there are only two genders has increased from 43% in 2021 to now an astonishing 57% today. Nearly 6 in 10 Gen Zers believe there are only two genders. Now, this is corroborated by another relatively recent study that found that the number of Americans between the ages of 18 and 34 who are comfortable interacting with those who identify as LGBT actually slipped from 53% in 2017 to just 45% today. It's actually down from an astonishing 63% back in 2016. So over the last 7 years, it's dropped significantly here, right? Well, we're talking about 63% of it's dropped by 20 points. Women in particular have changed most dramatically in terms of their attitudes towards LGBT. Their comfort levels have plunged from 64% down to 52%. Now, of course, this poll data goes against everything we hear about Gen Z. Everything we hear about Gen Z is supposed to be the woke hope, right? Gen Z is the generation that got fully indoctrinated in all this stuff. And so they guarantee an unending progressive woke future. But that's not what's happening. It's not what's happening. A study conducted by the University of Sheffield and the University of Southampton in the UK found that Britain's young people are, in their words, I kid you not, this is their words, they are now more far right. They are more right-wing, far right-wing and authoritarian in their political outlook than their previous generations. In fact, this research found that the political attitudes have shifted further to the right with each of the last 3 generations. And the most recent study from YouGov on British political sentiments is underscoring just how significant this turn is to the right among Gen Zers. Now, if you don't know YouGov studies, YouGov maintains what's arguably the largest pool of survey respondents in the Western world. Its profiles database contains the views of over 200,000 people. All right. So this means that for every single age, apart from the very old, there's some 3,000, 4,000 people, is a much larger sampler that one finds for all age groups in most opinion polls that survey across the board. So we can't dismiss trends at the youngest edge of the age graph as a statistical aberration. This is pretty significant stuff. This is after surveying probably upwards of 5,000, 6,000 per age group, 18, 19, 20, 21. Eric Kaufman of the University of London has analyzed the data regarding Gen Zers under the age of 22 in this survey and their political self-identification. 2 things astonished him here. The last time there was a generational survey of political views, which was right after Brexit, so this would have been right after June of 2016, they found that the youngest voters were 40 points more liberal than the oldest voters. 40 points more liberal back in 2016 than the oldest voters. So that means if only 20% of older voters identified as liberal, Gen Zers would have been 60% for Gen Zers. Okay. They were 40% more liberal than older voters. That was right after Brexit. In 2020, so just 4 years later, in 2020, Gen Zers in Britain identified only 20 points more liberal than older voters. So the liberal self-identification got cut in half. And what we're finding is that the younger they are, the more conservative they identify as. So amazingly, those under the age of 22 in Britain were found to be considerably more conservative than those between the ages of 22 and 39. Today, 18-year-old Brits are more right-wing than 22-year-olds, so much so that 18-year-olds in Britain, according to this study, are as right-wing as your typical 40-year-old. You heard that right. 18-year-olds in Britain today we found are as right-wing, are as likely to be right-wing as 40-year-olds in Britain. You just have to let that hit you. And again, we're seeing the fruit of it. We're seeing it happen right before our very eyes. And just to put an exclamation point on that, take a look at this.
It's about to sit well for some people and not sit well for others. I hate Pride Month. And not because I care about who you want to love, but because I'm sick of the corporate pandering. I'm sick of seeing all-age drag shows where bearded men wrapped in fishnets and BDSM outfits are grinding their man bulges into the faces of children. I am sick of society pushing children to transition. I am tired of men dressing up as women to victimize other women in sports, public restrooms, locker rooms, and life. We have pride flags painted on our sidewalks. They're flying from our embassies. They're hanging in our schools. And yet a group that claims to be so deeply marginalized has an entire month dedicated to one of the 7 deadly sins. And I'm supposed to tolerate it? What once was a call for people to just mind their business and love who they want to love has turned into a campaign to force people, regardless of religious beliefs, to accept a certain way of life that they don't want to accept, and a trend to destroy childhood innocence in an attempt to validate sick adults, and I want no part of it. The only rainbow I celebrate is God's promise, and the only pride I want to have is the pride for my country.
God bless. Yeah, God bless her is right. Sorry, I got a little frozen there, but or at least on my end. Maybe it didn't get it on you. But frankly, gang, that says it all. What she just said there in 60 seconds says better than anything I could have possibly said in a half an hour. Over to you, gang. Over to you. But first,
I'll be back.
No. It's not I'll be back. It's he is back, gang. It is time to celebrate the great return by clicking on the link below and getting one of these, your very own Trumpinator 2024 bobblehead in preparation for Donald Trump's glorious reascendance to the United States presidency. Gang, I've got mine. It's absolutely awesome. I love it. This collectible bobblehead from Proud Patriots is made with the highest quality material and really is a must-have for any Trump fan who wants to send some energy towards what's shaping up to the most glorious political comeback in history. Now, don't wait. These are a limited number of collectibles, and you don't want to be caught paying way more later on eBay from someone who just bought one now. Whatever you do, don't wait. Click on that link below right now. Show your support for Trump 2024 today. Get one for yourself. Get one for the Patriots in your life. They're going to absolutely love you for it. All right, I'm going to put my little bobblehead right here. Right here. That's right. Hello. My little bobblehead. Over to you guys. Your questions, whatever you got, I'm happy to answer them. I think we should give the liberals credit that they have done something never done before. And by the way, hello, hi, Q, and thank you for the pound sterling. Christians, Jews, and Muslims have put the differences aside and are working together against liberalism. Okay. Hi, Q, what you're saying, I think, is happening. It's huge. It's certainly happening in another town called Dearborn, Michigan, which is 17 minutes away or so from the town where we're seeing the pride flag being banned. I'm trying to her something. I'm forgetting off the top of my head. What's so fascinating there is conservative Christians, Jews, Muslims were all banding together against their school board that was pushing, hardcore, some pretty, pornographic stuff, LGBT stuff in their schools. And they're banding together and forming sort of a true moral majority, a religious coalition that's pushing back. So this is happening, and we already started to see it happen in 2020, 2016 as well, where more and more Muslims are voting for Trump and voting. Again, they don't like Republicans, nor should they. We don't like Republicans, right? They betray us every chance they get. But as we take over the party and the party becomes more Christian nationalist, it's going to be there's going to be room, obviously, made now for sentiments for religious traditionalism to be implemented in our laws and our civic sphere, and that's what we're seeing. And so we're absolutely seeing that the same way Bobby Kennedy Jr., RFK, is actively trying to create a populist coalition, a trans-party populist coalition with Trump forces and his own forces, which is 20% of the Democratic Party. That's huge. If Trump, again, that's one of the reasons why I think there's a lot of logic for Trump to make RFK Jr. running mate, because if he can bring 20% of the Democratic Party over and throw away the Liz Cheney, Mitt Romney wing of the Republican Party, I mean, we could be dominant in politics for the foreseeable future. So I think we're seeing something comparable among Christians, Jews, and Muslims, and just, even secularists who have had it. They find that they align far more with the traditionalist values of the religious than they do with the radical woke values of the left. Awesome, high Q. And hopefully we'll see the same thing in Britain as well, because obviously you're getting a very large Pakistani population over there. So, Brooks Kelly, my pronouns are redneck and troublemaker. Brooks, you gotta put a search into YouTube for my video. It's a mini documentary called how rednecks are saving civilization, or how rednecks save civilization. Check that out, man. You're gonna love it. I couldn't agree more. I love it. Next, Sound Siren 07 again, gang. If you don't know, our super stickers are up, super chats up. Throw your questions in there, and I will be happy to answer them, or a comment if you want me to read it. Sound Siren 07 again. We got Euro there. Thank you, sir, for that. Do you see Peter Zion predicting Biden winning 40 states or more against Trump? He seems really on to China and tech logistics. Outrageous day. Yeah, I think that's pretty outrageous, but that's not uncommon for Peter Zion. Peter Zion's, he's a little bit out there. So anyway, you got to be careful with Peter Zion, especially with China and Russia. Everything he's been predicting about China, it seems, for the last 10 years. He predicted China was going to break up and implode back in 2010. And, well, obviously, just asked, is China stronger or weaker than they were in 2010? So anyway, no, I wouldn't go with that. Not at this point. We'll see. Brooks Kelly, sir, this has always been to me Bride Month, not Pride Month. That's great. I love it. That's right. Find your bride. All right, the bobblehead loves it. Click on that link below. Get your little bobblehead. I love him. Put him right here. Where is she? There we go. You can see him right there. He's so cool, my little guy. Bride Month. I love it. Next. Well, Lalos, good to see you, my friend. It's hard to believe we're not going into a corporativist technocracy when big tech, it's selling our info to create surveillance dystopia. Yeah, I mean, we're in the era of data capitalism and surveillance capitalism. So yeah, but that's why you need to have balance of powers. That's why you need to have strong patriotic values overseeing both your business class as well as your political class, so as to protect us against that kind of technocratic tyranny. Next, Charles Turner Jr., sir, good to see you. Even for those of us in ruby red states, let's stay active now. And you have to, absolutely. Involved and on our guard. Satan does not rest. That's for sure. Give those Marxists no room. Do not compromise. We have nothing to prove to them. We're right. Charles, it's so cool. And again, this is what I mean about, like, you look at the city council outside of Dearborn, Michigan. I mean, they didn't apologize. If you check out the video I did on it yesterday, because I have clips of their city hall, their town hall meeting. They let everybody speak. Everyone had a chance to voice. They had all the LGBT activists out there. They had plenty of Christian clergy there. They had imams there, many from the Muslim community. Everybody got to speak. And then they just sat there, smiled, and then they voted unanimously, not a single dissenter, unanimously, to yank the pride flag. So they didn't apologize. And again, keep in mind, these are all Democrats doing it. So if they can do it, what the hell is the excuse for our red states? They should be championing conservative values through the roof. That's what we should. I mean, I get really upset with Abbott, Texas, and what they did, with their attorney general there. It was just ridiculous. I mean, the infighting and the stupidity and the milquetoast rhino-isms are there. Just enough with it. Start governing vibrantly as a faith, family, and freedom nation, and we'll find even more people wanting to come in. Because we're seeing the massive demographic shift away from blue into red. So red is growing astronomically. That's where I see Zion, who's generally very good with demographics, kind of absurd there. Next, thank you, Charles. Brooks Kelly, Brooks, good to see you again. The pro and pronoun should never stand for propaganda. I love it. Dude, you're on fire today. I love it. It's so true. That's right. Well done. Next, Glenn, good to see you. What is your thought on the 20 supposed Republicans that voted not to censure Adam Schiff, letting him off the hook? Well, we need Muslim Democrats. We need middle schoolers, right? They're pathetic, especially Massey. He's pathetic. They're clowns. They're always clowns. Republicans are a donor class controlled party. They only do what their donors allow them to do, nothing more. Democrats riding the wave of liberal civilization. Okay, we're on the other side of the 18th century liberal enlightenment that created the modern world. And the modern world, by its nature, is fundamentally about emancipating itself and liberating itself from our traditions, our customs, our inheritances that we believe embody eternity and are therefore every bit as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago, so as to guarantee human flourishing into the future. So traditionalists see a radical continuity with past, present, and future, whereas modernists they see a radical disruption in time. Everything prior to their enlightenment, everything prior to their being awakened, their wokeness is, phobic, it's racist, it's knuckle dragging, it's ignorant, it's savage, it's stupid. We need to reject it all and enter into a brave new world of unbridled progressivism. Democrats ride that wave. Democrats ride that air that we breathe, and that's why we conservatives are always feeling like we're having to fight against this stuff. It never stops. The assault on our traditions, our customs, our inheritances, our heritage never, ever, ever stops, because the modern world is fundamentally anti-pre-modern. And if you're a traditionalist, you're by definition pre-modern. The great grand news is we're entering into a postmodern world. And that's why the left is beginning to unravel. And we're going back to tradition, custom, culture, inheritance, and the like. Postmodernism, ironically, is pre-modern. It's still modern in that it keeps all the technology, but the technology begins to marry itself with the tradition. So it's very much like Star Wars, amazing technology, but also mystical religious sentiments at the center of the universe, as it were, either for good or for bad, right? The Jedi or Emperor Palpatine, whatever it is. So you have to understand, Republicans always feel like they have to compromise. They always feel like that Republicans are still living in modernist times. That at least their donors are, and their donors have ceded the culture to the left. Republican donors have ceded the culture to the cultural Marxist left and are thinking solely in terms of economics. That's it. Economics and neocon foreign policy, endless wars, because they're all invested in the military-industrial complex, and that gets in their money for that. So Republicans are always going to disappoint you. That's why Trump is so important. DeSantis will disappoint you, because DeSantis is controlled by the donor class, by definition. He will disappoint you. Not as a governor of Florida, but as a president, he will disappoint. Guaranteed. I'll still vote for him if he gets the nomination, but guaranteed Romney 2.0. Guaranteed. Because that's just the way the Republican apparatus is. So what made Trump so awesome is he's totally disrupting that. Absolutely disrupting that, because he's a postmodern candidate. So there you go. So they're feckless Republicans who do the bidding of the donor class and who constantly bend the knee to the secular left in all things cultural. There you go. That's the 20. There you go, Glenn. Great question. Rock Dog, my friend, Dr. Steve, young people reading Orwell and Fahrenheit 451 and seeing who the oppressors really are and revolting against them. They are waking up to the hypocrisy of liberalism. Absolutely right, Rock Dog, exclamation point. And they've actually been called, I don't know if you know this, we've talked about it a little bit, they've been called the Jordan Peterson generation. They're watching Jordan Peterson. right? So they're reading Orwell and Fahrenheit 451, oftentimes because of Jordan Peterson. And guys, if you haven't read either one of those works, but particularly Orwell's 1984, you got to read it. It's absolutely engrossing reading. It's one of the few books you read where it gets more and more and more intense with every page you turn. It's astonishing. But they're also listening. They're listening to Shapiro. They're listening to Jordan Peterson, and their minds, they're awakening to the fact that all of what seems normal today has been deliberately fabricated by a small leftist minority, implementing their own presuppositions that speak democracy and freedom out of one side of their mouth, but practice autocracy and tyranny on the other side. So very good. Absolutely right, Rock Dog. Good seeing from you. Expressions of the outdoors. I love that. Dr. Stephen, currently at work and won't watch this fully until later. I haven't missed an episode of your show since 2019. You're awesome. Dude, you are awesome. You're freaking awesome. Thank you, Expressions of the Outdoors. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you for that. Raven Writing Desk. Did you see the protester who ran in front of Trump's vehicle after the court case? The Hamburglar? yeah, the freaking Hamburglar. The only anti-Trump guy there, and he's just this dimwit. Yeah, I mean, he's just absolute dimwit. Very funny. Marilyn Dagote. I should know your name by now, Dagote. You're right. Any hope on redistricting? Sure. I mean, yeah, there should be, but not, again, they're always at the behest of the donor class, and they only go as far as the guys with the pockets allow them and are comfortable with them. And the guys with the pockets tend to be liberal, right? It's controlled opposition. That's how we get our controlled opposition, because our donor class is part of this refeudalized era, and the refeudalized era amasses tremendous amount of power and wealth in the hands of very, very few. Remember, right? It's only 400 billionaires controlled half of the world's resources 5 years ago. Today, it's 100 billionaires, right? It's been cut in less than half, control that. So a massive amount of power and wealth in the hands of very few, and the superimposition of a radical fundamentalism, an ideological fundamentalism from a clerisy class, not a clerical class, but a clerisy class. So we are living in very feudal times, refeudalized times. And the Rupert Murdochs and the Soroses, they all in the end click glasses together. And so they make sure that they make sure that Republicans toe the line in the end. They stay acceptable within the bounds of our refeudalized aristocracy. So the redistricting, yes, it works and it's doing great. Is it what it could be doing? No, because the Republicans are controlled by a donor class who will only let them go so far, and they put a very, very short leash on them. Frank Stover, Pure Blood, Salty Army, USA, my pronouns. Amen. Amen. And amen to Salty Army. Absolutely. God bless you guys. Yano, good to see you, man. Iran used to be a powerful country during Shah. West wanted him to go because he wasn't obeying. War wasn't the option, so they brought him down by their own people. Same thing happening in the U.S. Sad. Very interesting, Yano. That's very, very interesting. I didn't know that about the Shah in terms of it being sort of a 2014 Maidan revolution or a kind of, just a color revolution. And then they got Ayatollah Khomeini as a result, and the return of a theocracy. So, I think so. I wouldn't be too worried about the USA, in the sense I just think we've got so much resources in the red states right now. And I'm talking about, intellectual resources, ideological resources as well. They're very strong, very powerful, very conservative, Christian nationalist. I mean, we're seeing it even with these Muslim Democrats. We have more in common with them than we do with our fellow rhino Republicans. Next, Trent Emerson, my friend, Republicans are always trying to look hip. That's true, by pandering to Democrat talking points, by arguing that they held the positions the Democrats are pushing. That's exactly right, Trent. Again, the donor class still operates from the vantage point that we're fully immersed in a modern world. The modern world is perpetual. It's brought in a progressive future, and there's no going back, right? Can't go back. That's what they keep telling us. There's no going back. And so all politicians are in the end, Republican politicians are, for the exception of one, are in the pocket of these donors. Well, of course, there's more. The MAGA movement is not in their pockets, but they're all in the pockets of these donors who believe that the future is liberal, the future is woke. So that's why you probably saw Matt Walsh's, may have seen Matt Walsh's very extended, long Twitter thread, sort of blowing the roof off of Fox Corporation. That's incredibly woke, according to his allegations, and I'm sure they are. They're incredibly woke because, again, corporate America is woke because it's part of this refeudalized ideological fundamentalism, which is wokeness. So yeah, they're always going to disappoint. That's why, again, I'm a Trump man all the way, because I'm not a Republican as much as I am a Trumpist. I am for the total disruption of the establishment and the rising up of the people versus the permanent political class. I'm a populist in that fundamental sense, as I know you are as well. All right. Is that the last? Well, we got one more. Candy, finally watching you live. Well, thank you, Candy. It's great to have you here. Yeah, we've had to miss a couple because I've been in Japan. But absolutely. Is that it, Josh? Thank you, Candy. Rock Dog coming back. Dr. Steve, my pronouns are libs are Lord Master. To others, it's fellow patriot. It took 70 years to build the lib house of cards. That's why it's collapsing so fast. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it took a while, but like with the Soviet Union, it ended up falling apart. The Berlin Wall collapsed. But it took a while, right? I mean, Poland was still voting in communists for the next several years. It took a while before the Law and Justice Party, which is a Christian nationalist party, came to power and prominence. The Soviet Union survived another 2 years after the fall of the Berlin Wall. This stuff takes time. So we're just keeping an eye on the trajectories. And the trajectories all suggest that the left, no matter how much they may amass power here or there, no matter how much they are cracking everywhere, and we are rising, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. Is that it? That is it. Love you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. God bless.